Good evening. Welcome to tonight's show. You might notice that the home studio is a bit spiffy. It's a bit spiffed up. I'm quite pleased we were able to get some of our older lights working again. Some of the LEDs that went out are back and shining, illuminating as need be for the Frumess studio. And yeah, been a while since we've done a proper live show. Actually, I recorded a secret show yesterday for the Patreons and YouTube members, and I just got the second part of the John Christ interview ready to go. It's ready to be exported, so that is coming very shortly. But tonight we're talking about a different side of the musical spectrum. We're talking about the best of the best. That's not to say that those guys aren't best of the best, but we're talking about the upper echelon of rock royalty. If you if to wow, tonight it was really hard to get the show going tonight. It was like one thing after another, but finally it's working, and now I'm tongue tied. I can't even get out what it is I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is we're talking about royalty tonight. We're talking about Prince. We never talk about Prince on this channel, but I'll have you know that I don't know what it was. I'll tell you exactly what it was, actually. I was at my neighbor's barbecue, and I was listening to When You Were Mine by Prince came on the playlist, and I turned to my neighbor and I go, "Who the hell is that?" I mean, it was like this incredibly Beatle-esque song. I'm like, and then he says, "That's Prince." And I go, "What? That's Prince? That's Prince." Okay. I think it's time for me to deep dive on Prince. And I have been very slowly going through his whole discography from 1978, although I'm in the 90s right now, stuck on a triple album. That's the problem with Prince. He's so prolific and so brilliant and so unfiltered that there's just too much. Dare I say, there's actually too much Prince out there to sift through, especially if it's your first time. And I figured, man, I want to hear it all. And so I was going through, and we're still going through. And of course, I knew all the hits, like everybody knows the hits, the Doves Crying and Purple Rain, and what's Under the Cherry Moon, and the Corvette song is great. But I had never heard When You Were Mine, and I was going, my God, this guy is writing Beatles songs too. I mean, the guy and my biggest observation as a first-time Prince listener is that, as I said, he is unfiltered genius that could have used a producer to get in there and sort of chip away at some of Prince's ideas, maybe even like a Rick Rubin type, to be honest with you, or I don't know, somebody to get in there and just help him sort of shape and filter. I mean, speaking of the Beatles, frankly, it would have been really kind of cool to hear what George Martin would have done with Prince. Or how about this? What if David Bowie produced a Prince record? That also would have been incredible to hear. And I'm sure now with AI, we probably could hear something along those lines. Even a Jeff Lynne produced Prince album would be interesting. In any case, tonight we are talking specifically, there's lots of things that we could discuss about Prince. And again, I do want to someday dive into all of Prince's genius. And like I said, Prince's biggest problem in a way was himself, in the sense that, he was pure id, like just stream of consciousness, creativity, without anybody to hold the floodgates back and say, hey, trying to direct it. And you can't, because it's Prince, dude. How are you going to direct Prince? You can't. Prince is Prince, man. There's no stopping Prince, as we're going to see with tonight's tale of just incredible legend. It's the only way to put it. This is I guess this is almost 20 years old now, and it's 19 years old, and it's really sort of become rock and roll mythology to an extent because of what happened. And I love the story. And now, when Prince passed away in 2016, was it 2016 when he passed away? The New York Times, they ran this incredible article, and we're going to read it right now, actually. We're going to look over it. And along with it, the guy who put together the George Harrison Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing that we're going to look at, he did a director's cut. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Let me set the stage before we begin our reading of this New York Times article. George Harrison passed away November 29th, 2001. And like John Lennon before him, he is posthumously inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And at these the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a bloated institution, man. It's BS, man. It kind of doesn't mean diddly squat. In one hand, it doesn't mean diddly squat. In the other hand, it's kind of like the Oscars. Like the Oscars are everything and nothing all at the same time. It's like to win an Oscar, the greatest accomplishment of all time. But at the same time, it's like, why isn't it, why are the Oscars are the bastion of good taste in cinema? There's so much out there, and yet only a small drips and drabs are considered to be good enough to be at the Oscars. I don't know. You know what it is? Greatness is in the eye of the beholder, right? Isn't that what it ultimately is? And here look no further than the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where you could have Green Day and the Red Hot Chili Peppers are both in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but the Bad Brains and the New York Dolls and the MC5 are not. Think about that for a minute. Think about how influential the New York Dolls are responsible for the record labels making billions and billions of dollars in record sales in the 80s, a decade later, because they opened the door with what they were doing. You don't think that's worthy of being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but you're going to let Green Day go in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? And, my opinion on Green Day has changed as well for a lot of reasons. Green Day, I guess, I can understand why they are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now I can, at least. But, when you consider that when Kurt Cobain left this world, Nirvana left a void and Green Day filled it, and that has kind of earned them their place. But the Red Hot Chili Peppers, man, the Red Hot Chili Peppers are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but not the New York Dolls. So, but the point being, let me digress right now and just say the point is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is both the super prestigious and wonderful and incredible for some reasons, and yet at the same time, it's hot air, man. It's BS. It doesn't mean jack shit. That's the truth. That is the honest truth. So with all that said, George Harrison is being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's been gone 3 years, and his friends are up on stage. That's what they do at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right? That's what they do. They have this big celebration where you have like 15 guitar players, 3 different people are playing drums, and they do songs. They do a bunch of different songs. And they've been doing that for the last almost 30 years now, 35 years. Oh, that's good. So they've been doing that, and you get an ensemble at the end, and they all play a song together. In any case, in 2004, for George Harrison's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you have Jeff Lynne and Tom Petty and some of Tom Petty's players, and just Dhani Harrison, who was there. They all were together. They were all there together for the concert for George, but now this is another ensemble honoring George Harrison at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that happened in New York City, March of 2004, almost 20 years ago. And what makes this performance, we're going to be talking about a specific performance during that induction. It is a rendition of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which I was just saying. You have all these players on stage playing the song of honoring the person, and thrown into the mix is Prince. And Prince does something that's caught on tape that we're still talking about it 20 years later. Prince isn't here. Tom Petty isn't here. The only one who could tell the tale, the only one who could tell tales is Dhani Harrison and Jeff Lynne. And I mean, well, there's a lot of people on that stage, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say. In any case, let's take a look at the article, and then we're going to watch the director's cut of this video. Okay, so here we go. Now, because of the ugly paywall that the New York Times has, I had to be a little creative here, and I had to somehow get the article. I figured out, using some Jedi mind tricks, I was able to bring the article into a Google Doc, and I was already out of my you know what it's called, the free articles that you get with the New York Times. So this is called "The Day Prince's Guitar Wept the Loudest." It's a great title. And here's a picture. There's Prince with Tom Petty. Tom Petty looking on at Prince. Tom Petty left Prince honoring George Harrison. And this is by Finn Cohen. So he died in 2016. Prince did. And this is April 28th, 2016, when this was written. And this event happened just over 19 years ago in 2004. Hard to believe that 2004 was 19 years ago. It's actually quite terrifying to me, but that's a whole other ball of wax. On March 15th, 2004, George Harrison was posthumously inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. As part of the ceremony, an all-star band performed "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," Mr. Harrison's best-known Beatles song, although one might argue that's actually Something. Who could tell? I know that Something was definitely covered more. Something is a contender for being one of the most covered Beatles songs, and probably puts any Lennon-McCartney song through its paces. I think the only thing that beats out Something is probably Yesterday. The group featured Tom Petty and two other members of the Heartbreakers. So Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, two of their players. I don't know the Heartbreakers that well. The only Heartbreakers I really know are Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers, who got their start a little bit ahead of Tom Petty, but Tom Petty became the more popular Heartbreakers. I don't have anything against Tom Petty either. You know, I don't know. And then you also had Jeff Lynne, right? Steve Winwood was there, Dhani Harrison, George's son, and Prince, who was also an inductee that year. So Prince, his greatness, rightfully so, was being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I mean, what a great combination. Let's get Prince up there playing "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," and you would think that maybe he would play the solo. Well, more on that in a second. Marc Mann, a guitarist with Mr. Lynne's band, played Eric Clapton's memorable solo from the album version of the song. But Prince, who essentially stood in the dark for most of the performance, burned the stage to the ground at the song's end. So that's right. For the most of the song, you have Marc Mann, who is in Jeff Lynne's band, playing that solo. And I just want to go on record here, because we haven't really discussed this either. Eric Clapton is a hack, and he's an overrated guitarist. The best thing that Eric Clapton ever did, yeah, I'm a friggin' nerd on the internet saying this, whatever. The best thing that Eric Clapton ever did was the guitar solo in "While My Guitar Gently Weeps." He is a racist, generic hack who all he's doing is being racist, and yet at the same time copping the 12-bar blues off of the people he's discriminating against. I just have such utter disdain and contempt for Eric Clapton. Just such a bland, uninspired guitarist. I can't stand it. Is Layla a good song? Sure. Is that solo from "While My Guitar Gently Weeps"? Yeah, it's good. "Tears in Heaven," that's a great song. I'm not saying that Clapton isn't capable. I'm just saying that Clapton is not God. That's what I'm saying. So Marc Mann is the guy who's been doing the solos he's been doing the solos all throughout the song until the end, and then yes, I love this. This guy's a great writer. Finn, you're a great writer. He says Prince stood in the dark for most of the performance, which was obviously done on purpose, and then burned the stage to the ground at the song's end. His 3-minute guitar solo is a Prince milestone, a chance to see him outside of the purple tinted, for once he is dressed in red, context of his own meticulous studio craft. This was Prince, the lead guitarist. Those chops, apparent on songs like Why Do You Want to Treat Me So Bad, Electric Chair, and When Doves Cry, were given free range to roam. And when he tossed his instrument into the air at the very end of the song, it never appeared to land. It was almost as if Mr. Harrison had grabbed it himself in midair to signal that's enough of that. Because George Harrison was the lead guitarist. That was his de facto position in the Beatles. Although I don't think he was that much. I think he was far more of a songwriter than he was a lead guitar player. I don't know. I'm not, listen, how much I love the Beatles on this channel. I'm just saying that he is, I think even George Harrison is a bit overstated as a guitar player, a little bit. When you listen to some of those he's doing incredibly interesting things, but I don't think of chops. And what's amazing about this performance is Prince essentially, by being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's because, he's the best. He's one of the best. And he has to, it's like he shows us why he's the best. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, people don't like Star Wars Attack of the Clones. That's episode 2 for a lot of good reasons, I might add. It's a movie. I don't mind it. I don't mind it so much, but it's not well appreciated. And one of the most polarizing moments is when Yoda draws his lightsaber against Count Dooku. And for the first time ever, we get to see why Yoda size matters not. I mean, we did see that in Empire Strikes Back when he lifts the X-Wing out of the swamp, but it's like we've never seen Yoda's battle might. And that's not to say, of course, you've seen Prince's battle might, but it's just like you get to see why Yoda is Yoda. And in this performance, you get to see why Prince is Prince. Several of the people who were on stage or at the ceremony that night recall Prince's involvement and performance. These are edited excerpts from the conversation. So here is almost like an oral history of that performance, if you will, brought to you for the record. Okay. This is Joel Gallen. He's the producer and director of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony. He says, my dream right from the start was, imagine if I can get everybody up on stage at the end of the night to do While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and Prince comes out and does the guitar solos. I wrote basically a personal letter to Prince, care of his lawyer. I got a call from one of Prince's guys a week or two later saying that Prince was in LA and that he wanted to have a meeting with me. He said, I got your letter. I liked the idea. I'm going to listen to the song a few times and I'll get back to you. A couple weeks later, his security guy called me again and said, Prince would like to meet with you again. He said he definitely wants to do the song. He's definitely going to do it. Both in the initial meeting and the second meeting, he did talk a lot about what we're going to do with the music, who's going to own the music. He was concerned, like, if he does this, who is going to own the performance? He wanted to make sure his performance was not exploited without his knowledge. And part of that reason, for anybody who's familiar with Prince's history, and man, I would love to do a deep dive on Prince's rivalry with Michael Jackson. It is absolutely fascinating. Not a topic for now, but one of the things that Prince dealt with, Prince stopped going by the name Prince. He started going by the artist formerly known as Prince. He was just going by a symbol. He changed his name to a symbol that was, he had a guitar fashioned after the symbol. And It had to do with being controlled by his record label. And that's the thing, much like I was saying about like, being a producer and like, or like trying to produce Prince, it's like that is creative energy that is uncaged at every level, from the songwriting to being in the studio. And Prince was an explorer, man. Like he'd book time in the studio, he'd go in there and he would explore the space, the studio space. He'd build tracks up, man. He'd start with the drums and then feel that out. And then he'd go, all right, now I'm going to do some keys. And because of that, you get all these insane, like 6 or 7 minute songs that sometimes end with Prince just like, almost orgasming. He's going, like it's just like all this. And then sometimes he's like, I'm doing rap. And then all of a sudden Prince is rapping. He really was, man. I mean, he's a journeyman, man. He was eternally searching for the sound. And that was what was really cool about Prince from what I've, from my limited sort of, discovery of him or in, investigation of Prince and his music. And that sort of control, that sort of, or I should say that unbound energy creatively, extended far past the studio and, went right into the business side of things, owning his music. He would listen, long story short, because he could do a whole podcast on this as well. Princeton was fighting with the record label, stopped using his name, eventually regained control of everything, and then became such a stickler. He's one of those guys. I mean, he's worse than Glenn Danzig when it comes to, having stuff pulled off of YouTube. I mean, this is a guy who would direct documentaries, shoot music videos, and record whole albums only to put them in one of the shelves in his vaults because it wasn't perfect. He was very, very concerned about being in control of everything, every aspect, man. And it's part of what made Prince, I guess. So that's, that makes sense that he would want to make sure the performance was not exploited. Tom Petty, who shared lead vocals with Jeff Lynne on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, speaks. Olivia Harrison, George's widow, asked me if I would come along and induct George. I was told, well, Prince is going to play too. And I was like, wow, that's fantastic. So Tom Petty was stoked that Prince would be there. Look, we've got Prince here willing to play lead guitar. Why should we give him an 8-bar solo over? Sorry, let me take that again. Look, we got Prince here willing to play lead guitar. Why should we give him an 8-bar solo over a solo that the Beatles solo everyone knows by heart, and would be disappointed if you didn't play that particular solo there? And Prince was a great fan of George's and the Beatles in general. But I think he particularly admired George, and I think George would have liked it a lot. So basically, I guess what he's trying to say here is that, like, part of the fear, part of the danger of having Prince playing that solo is that it's such an iconic solo that if it's not sort of note for note, if it's not faithful at that part of the song, then it's going to take away from the identity of the song. What makes While My Guitar Gently Weeps just that, while My Guitar Gently Weeps. And so in a way, who knows, it almost sounds like maybe it was like clandestine. Hey, let's just have him burn the house to the ground at the very end, almost on purpose. In any case, Craig Inchiardi, who is the curator at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum, says, I've seen every induction performance from 1992 to the present. So that's like 24 shows. On a purely musical level, a technical level, as far as musicianship, that performance seems like the most impressive one. Gallon adds, we got into rehearsal the night before the show at the Waldorf Astoria. Prince's rehearsal was actually earlier. He rehearsed his big 10 to 12 minute medley. His his big 10 to 12-minute medley that opened the show. He was having all kinds of audio problems. I remember he had his own monitor engineer that his camp had hired, and I think Prince fired him during the rehearsal because he couldn't get the sound right. After that, he went back to his hotel, and I said, "You're going to come back at 10 o'clock tonight. That's when we're going to rehearse the finale." And he says, "I'll see." Haha. He didn't give me any guarantees. He just says, "I'll see," which sounds like a very Prince sort of thing to do, right? The Petty rehearsal was later that night, and at the time I had asked him to come back, there was Prince. Sorry, the Petty rehearsal was later that night, and at the time I had asked him to come back, there was Prince. He'd show up on the side of the stage with his guitar. He'd say hello to Tom and Jeff and the band. When we get to the middle solo where Prince is supposed to do it, Jeff Lynne's guitar player just starts playing the solo, note for note, like Clapton. And Prince just stops and lets him do it and plays rhythm, strums along. And we get to the big end solo, and Prince again steps forward to go into the solo, and this guy starts playing that solo too. Prince doesn't say anything, just starts strumming, playing a few leads here and there, but for the most part, nothing memorable. Could you imagine being that much of a friggin' jabroni? This guy is stepping on Prince, man. Prince has been invited. So I guess that's what it is. That's what it ultimately was. It was planned. Hey, let's do this iconic sort of thing, or it sounds like there was conflict there. We're afraid that it's not going to sound like While My Guitar Gently Weeps if Prince does it, but Prince has also been invited to do it. Whatever shall we do? Two conflicting sort of fronts, all, pushing for dominance. But Prince, he just backs down, man. He backs down. He lets this guy, Mark, whatever his face is, do the solo again. I mean, what a goofball, man. And plus, it's like, dude, Prince is being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know what that's like? That's like the opening band. That's like an opening band demanding an encore, right? It's like the opening band coming back to play an encore. It's like, dude, get off the stage, get out of the way. You're not being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This is Prince's moment. Let Prince shine. No one wants to hear the Clapton note for note solo the way you think they do. They're going to want to hear Prince. And this guy, I mean, what a goofball, man. Could you imagine if Prince didn't have the spine? Of course he has the spine because he's mother effing Prince. But imagine that he didn't have the spine to like sort of, be assertive enough and be like, hey, man, I need to, do my solo here. I need to do my thing. It's a sticky situation. It's very sticky. And you know what else is sticky? Riot stickers. That's right. The Frumess channel is sponsored by riotstickers.com. We have a special promotion running with riotstickers.com where you can get 3-inch by 3-inch vinyl stickers, which makes them waterproof, by the way. Vinyl stickers. You can get 1,000 vinyl stickers for $79. That's 7 cents per sticker. Just go to riotstickers.com/Frumess. Link is down in the description. These stickers, they have a UV coating on top, so they're protected from the sun. They're protected from the water. I mean, these things, man, if they're inside, they're going to last forever. And outside, man, they'll probably last for like 5 years. 5 years without even blinking an eye. So says Sharpie Riot, the man himself. So check out that incredible deal. 7 cents for $79. Sorry, 7 cents per sticker. It's $79. That's 1,000 stickers for $79. Print whatever you want on there. You can't lose with a deal like that. Let's play our little theme song.
We make stickers, banners, and buttons too. Posters and promo cards. There's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads. We can print on shirts. We can print on hats. We can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality.
And we are back, still talking about Prince. When you were mine, do, 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 do. I gave you all of my money. All right, let's keep reading this thing. So here's Steve Ferrone. He's the drummer for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, who played at that 2004 ceremony. He says, I had no idea that Prince was going to be there. Steve Winwood said, hey, Prince is over there. And I said, I guess he's playing with us. So I said to Winwood, I'm going to go over and say hello to him. I wandered across the stage and I went up to him and I said, hi, Prince. It's nice to meet you, Steve Ferrone. And he said, oh, I know who you are. Maybe because I'd played on Shaka Khan's I Feel For You, which is a song that he wrote. I went back over and I sat down behind the kit, and Winwood was like, well, what's he like? What'd he say? I mean, hey, Winwood, why don't you go over and introduce yourself? I mean, the dude's being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like, don't be, don't be too cool for school. Then I was sitting there and I heard somebody playing a guitar riff from a song that I wrote with Average White Band. And I looked over and Prince was looking right at me and playing that song. And I thought, yeah, you actually do know who I am. And that's what's so, I mean, is that not the coolest thing about Prince? That Prince is like, he's always out there. He's listening to music. He knows he even though he could be, he's like, he creates a bubble around himself, makes himself elusive and distant, in that at the same time, he just sort of knows what he needs to know about people and things. I don't know. I think that's really cool. Gallon says they finish and I go up to Jeff and Tom and I sort of huddle up with these guys and I'm like, this can't be happening. I don't even know if we're going to get another rehearsal with him, Prince, but this guy cannot be playing the solos throughout the song. So I talked to Prince about it. I sort of pulled him aside and had a private conversation with him. And he was like, look, let this guy do what he, for the end solo, forget the middle solo. So Prince, so the guy is stepping on the solos, and from what I remember from reading this, we're going to find out what the motivation was behind that. But it's just still kind of like, I mean, it's aggravating, man. But Prince is playing it cool. He's saying, look, let this guy do what he does, and I'll just step in at the end for the end solo. Forget the middle solo. And he goes, don't worry about it. And then he leaves. What a suave dude, right? What a suave dude. They never rehearsed it, really. So they never actually rehearsed it with Prince. They have no idea what he's going to do. Never really showed us what he was going to do, and he left, basically telling me, the producer of the show, not to worry. And the rest is history. It became one of the most satisfying musical moments in my history of watching and producing live music. Inciardi says, you hear all these sort of harmonics and finger tapping, sort of like what you'd hear Eddie Van Halen do. He runs through all these different sort of guitar techniques that are sort of astonishing. You hear what sounds like someone cocking a shotgun, then strumming. There's all this strumming power. There's all these strumming power chords that really, really connected. Then he played his version of the Clapton solo. He invokes Eric's solo in very sort of truncated fashion. As he ends the song, he plays this flourishing thing that sort of ends up sounding a little bit like Spinal Tap, but in a good way. Tom Petty says, you see me nodding at him to say, go on, go on. I remember I leaned out at him at one point and gave him a, this is going great kind of look. He just burned it up. You could feel the electricity of something really big is going down here. Hold on one second. Hey, Roland. Hold on one second. Roland, sorry. Hey, Roland, I'm in the middle of a live broadcast right now on YouTube. Can I call you back in probably about 15, 20 minutes? Oh, I can't. Sorry, you're very distant. I can't hear you. I'll call Roland. I'll call you back. All right. Bye. All right. Yeah. Sorry, that was Roland. Where were we? We were talking. I had a feeling that was going to happen. Where were we? He says something really big. You could feel the electricity. Tom sort of went over to him. He says, "This is going great." He just burned it up. You could feel the electricity if something really big is going down here. Ferrone says, Tom sort of went over to him and said, just cut loose and don't feel sort of inhibited to copy anything that we have. Just play your thing and have a good time. It was a hell of a guitar solo and a hell of a show. And he actually put in a hell of a show that he actually put on for the band. So he's not just putting on a show for the TV audience and the audience that's there in the flesh, but also he's putting on a show for the band. When he fell back into the audience, everybody in the band freaked out like, oh my God, he's falling off the stage. And then the whole thing with the guitar going up in the air, I didn't even see who caught it. I just saw it go up and I was astonished that it didn't come back down again. Everybody wonders where that guitar went. And I got to tell you, I was on the stage and I wonder where it went to. I think if you watch from the director's cut from a different angle, you can actually see the guitar land. But for years, nobody could figure out what had happened to that guitar. And as for him falling off the stage, that was obviously, I feel like Prince planned that, which is great. And by the way, I'm kind of annoyed. I picked the wrong thing. So I believe Olivia Harrison did not want Prince to play the solo either. Somebody else did not want Prince to play the solo. We're going to get to that in 1 second. Gallon says, I still feel like people don't realize what an amazing guitar player he was. As a rock guitar player, he could go toe-to-toe with anybody. And I got to tell you, after seeing this performance countless times, every once in a while I watch it on YouTube, I have to agree, man. Tom Petty closes with this. It's funny because just a few days ago, he was in mind all afternoon. I was thinking about him. And I had just been talking with Susanna Hoffs of the Bangles, who's awesome. She's really great. She's on TikTok now. It's really great. It's sort of a novelty, but it's really great to see her there. Does not age at all. Looks incredible for her age. She's like 60-something, 67, and she looks incredible for 67. He wrote their Manic Monday song. She was telling me a story of how she came to have that song and meet Prince. I mean, Prince wrote songs for everybody. Prince wrote Nothing Compares to You. Okay. He wrote, the dude was a friggin' genius, man. And I was just thinking about him a lot that day. And I almost told myself that I was going to call him and just see how he was. I'm starting to think you should just act on those things all the time because, of course, Prince tragically passed away. I won't go into his death because it's very sad. And Prince had some very sad things happen in his life. That's for sure. But now I want to check because I thought that this included Olivia. It was always my understanding Olivia Harrison did not want Prince to do that solo. Let's see if we can find that real quick. Olivia Harrison, Prince. Now I'm a little annoyed. There we go. Here it was. George Harrison's wife, Olivia, didn't want Prince. Here we go. Oh, wow. We were not very thorough in our homework here. We gotta make note of this as well. So here's what this says. George Harrison's son said that Prince created tension during George's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. Yeah, that New York Times article was a little bit too polite. For his outstanding, well, I'm not gonna let's skip over some of this. George Harrison's son Dhani said that Prince created tension on stage. George's widow, Olivia Harrison, and the couple's only son, Dhani, accepted George's award. Then they all got up there and they went to perform. All the people we said, and they played While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Prince was a fellow inductee that year too, but no one knew he was actually going to take the stage amongst George's friends and son. The last-minute decision, so it was a last-minute decision, made things a bit tense, especially for Dhani, the buffer zone between the Purple One and the rest of the Wilburys Heartbreakers. So it sounds like this sort of Wow, I got a shame on our friend who wrote that article, who left out a lot of context of what was going on here. There was tension between them. It was a funny old night. Being the youngest Wilbury, they stuck me in between them and Prince to kind of be the buffer zone. Danny told Esquire. We had been told that he was playing, and then suddenly the promoter said he's playing with you and that's final. So there was a lot of tension, like, what is this? During rehearsals, Danny felt that Prince would unleash a powerful guitar solo at some point during the actual performance. He tried to warn Petty, but the musician didn't care. He turned up at soundcheck and he was really nice and very shy, but I was the only one that was talking to him. And I got the sense that he was holding back. He wasn't going to play like that in the real thing, Danny said. I said to Tom, he's being really nice, but he's going to come and blow us off the stage. And they said, whatever it's going to be great. Whatever he does is going to be brilliant. It's Prince. So obviously we're not going to stop him. So it sounds like Prince was almost kind of pushed onto them, but at the same time, they're kind of embracing of it. I don't know. When the performance started, Danny was nervous about what was going to happen. Through most of the song, Prince lingered mysteriously off to the side of the stage. But lo and behold, he emerged like a freed dove when it came time for the solo at the end. The 3-minute solo is now one of the most famous moments in all of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame history. When he opened up at the beginning, I was imagining what Tom Petty was thinking, and I just started nervously laughing. Then his solo was so incendiary that I started really laughing and enjoying it. But because they put me on stage in the middle, I'm in every shot right behind Prince, and it looks like I'm hysterically laughing while trying to play the end of While My Guitar Gently Weeps and sing the backing vocals. Yesterday, I was on the phone talking to LP from Run the Jewels, and he was like, dude, were you just sitting there laughing at Prince? And he goes, no, I was nervous. I was nervous laughing because it was so awesome. And yet it was so not what we were supposed to be doing. Tom Petty thinks George Harrison would have liked Prince's solo. Man, they really, I'm really annoyed because I thought that was the full story. And I had read a much more detailed article and that was not it. I thought I had found it. Despite Tom Petty's stern-looking face during the performance, yeah, he does. You'll see. He looks pissed off. He was actually quite happy with Prince's solo. He didn't feel that the singer took over the performance in any way and thinks George would have loved how it turned out. It's true. Prince really hung back, played it cool, and then he just jumps out there. Olivia Harrison asked me if I would come along and induct George. Petty told the Times. Yeah, that's the Times article. So annoyed. Look, we got Prince here willing to play the guitar. We should give him an 8-bar solo over a solo that was the thing. And Prince was a great fan, blah, blah, blah. At the end, he threw his, okay. So now that's one thing. And then here's the other thing. Here's where I think this is where the real sort of contention came from. George Harrison's wife, Olivia, didn't want Prince to perform at George's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. George Harrison, God, blah, 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 blah. Initially, Olivia was against the idea, but she came around eventually, and thankfully too. Otherwise, we might not have gotten that certain iconic solo. As George's widow, who'd not only lost him 3 years prior, it's understandable that Olivia Harrison wanted George's solo induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to be special. She knew what George would have wanted better than anyone, so she hit the nail on the head by asking some of George's closest friends to come and help induct him once more. She asked Tom Petty personally, blah, 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 more blah, blah, blah. Olivia Harrison didn't want Prince to perform. Olivia clearly had very specific plans for George's induction. She wanted his friends to induct him, and so she wanted them to be the ones who wrote this. This is like an AI wrote this. Olivia didn't want anyone on that stage that didn't know George. Why should anyone else be up there on the stage? So when Joel Gallen, producer and director of the ceremony, called her and asked her if she was okay with adding Prince to the performance, Olivia initially denied his request. Prince and George didn't know each other. However, the current writes that Gallen and Petty convinced Olivia to change her mind. So Petty helped change the mind, and that Tom Petty thought that George would have loved having Prince up there. I want to believe that too, man. I want to believe that too. This is the same sort of excerpt, but it's, you know, I remember here's what I remember reading and why I'm annoyed that I can't find it now as we're doing this and we're kind of going out of order. What I remember reading is as follows, is that it was sort of that the guy, Mark, whatever, from the Heartbreakers, that was done on purpose to sort of sandbag Prince. And they wanted to try and, you know, sort of stake out their territory, and Prince, you know, pretended to go along with it as we read. I don't know. That's what I remember. And I'm sure I'm going to find it later on and be really pissed that I didn't read it now for you here. But what can I do? We can only do so much. So without further ado, now, if you are a Patreon or a YouTube member, I can guarantee that the full version of this will be left up. But what's probably going to happen is I'm probably going to get content ID'd on this, and I'm going to have to cut out the performance. So if you're watching live, you can watch now with the reaction, and then any sort of any kind of archived recording, you'd probably have to watch the uncut version on Patreon or as a YouTube member. We will see. Okay. So here it is. Without further ado, here is the thing that we've been talking about for the last 46 minutes. It's time to listen to Prince melt our faces off with the best guitar solo ever. It's not ever, but it's pretty darn terrific. Okay, here we go. Boom.
Sweet.
Man, now what's the lesson to be learned here from Prince and this friggin' jabroni over here? We got to let this cycle out real. Oh, so annoying. What is the lesson to be learned in this situation, right? Here's the lesson, in my opinion. The lesson in life in general is don't talk, just walk. Don't talk, just walk. You know what I'm saying? That's what you need to do in life. Don't talk, just walk. Because you're going to have guys. Where's this friggin' goofball over here? Look at this guy with his friggin' cabbie hat, mother trucker. You're going to have goofballs, man, that like come in or want to step on you, or they want to be alpha dog. And you know what you got to do? You just got to keep your mouth shut, keep your head down. Don't talk with your words, talk with your actions. And then when it's time, come out there and just friggin', you know, strike. Look at him. Look at the face. Look at Prince's face. I don't know who that's to. I don't know if it's to Jeff Lynne. I don't know if it's meant to be to Tom Petty. I don't think so. I think it's meant to be to that guitar player. You know what I mean? Look at him. He's just like, oh, you like that, mother effer? You like that, mother effer? What about that? What about that? Just like showing how much of a better player he is. Look at him. He's a competition. But the thing is that Prince really was that good. He really was that great. You know what I mean? God. And you know what the best part is too? Look at him. Just, it's so triumphant. He's confident in his abilities. He didn't promise something that he couldn't deliver. And instead he showed up and he gave 150% and created this very special moment that you just can't. I mean, look at that. He knew he was going to do that. He knew that this guy was going to come out there. I feel like an announcer. I'm like an announcer, but instead of for sports, instead of doing a sports play, we're talking about music. He knew. He was like, when I lean back, I want you to rescue me. That's definitely a planned moment, but it just, I mean, nobody was expecting that. Nobody was expecting that. Look at this goofball back here. Prince just embarrassed the crap out of him. Look at him. Look at the face that Prince makes. Look. Look at that. Look at that. That's Prince. That's Prince on the guy being like, do you like the taste of my penis in your mouth? It's so great, dude. It's so great. Look at him, man. He's so pleased with himself. He's like, I'm not going to embarrass you during this rehearsal. I'm going to wait until there's millions of people watching, and then I'm going to embarrass the crap out of you. Oh, man. Oh, is that friggin' excellent, dude? Look at that. And Tom Petty, now there, finally, Tom Petty flashes some teeth. You can tell he won over Tom Petty, man. Even Tom Petty couldn't, stand by his own band member. Look at him. Look how somber he is at the beginning. Maybe because he's thinking about George. Look at this guy. Who makes that face? All right, let me listen. This is white guy face. This is like white guy playing guitar face. The white guy is like, yeah, oh yeah, I love playing the guitar. What a goofball, man. Look at this guy. Look at this frigging goof. You see how it's like he's doing his best friggin', climax face, if you know what I mean. Look, yeah, look at him. It's so great. Look at him. He's so and again, he's playing the best thing that Clapton ever did, in my personal opinion. And it's even like, listen, it's a great solo. Is it the greatest solo? No, it's just, it's not iconic for its technicality even. That's just how mediocre Clapton is. And then here you have this guy who probably would cream his jeans if Clapton like winked at him, like spoke to him, like coughed in his general direction. This guy would make this face. He'd be like this. He'd be like, where is he? Where is he on? He's like, Clapton coughed at me. Look, Clapton coughed at me. I feel so special. You know what I mean? What's up, Ema D? Yeah, Rube knows what I'm talking about here. JP says, meant for the jabroni to show him not to play the straight 8 bar. That's the get on my level. And even when Prince is doing his thing, let's see, what is Jeff Lynne's reaction? Can we find that? I don't know I feel like Jeff Lynne is they don't even have the camera on him. There's Jeff Lynne in the shadows, not really looks like he's kind of throwing shade. Doesn't seem to really be enjoying what Prince is doing. Dhani Harrison's loving it. Yeah, okay, Jeff Lynne is mildly amused. But what about Jabroni? What is Jabroni? Does Jabroni's face do you just when Prince has his what shoved so far down your throat by that point, do you just enjoy it? Or is he pretending like he doesn't love, Prince's COCK down his throat? Look, they're all laughing. They think it's great. Okay, he is laughing. I'll give him that. All right. If he wasn't laughing, he'd probably be the biggest Goomba there ever was. He's like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word, by the way, in case I'm not. It's hard to keep up with all this pejorative words these days. What is allowed and what is not. And yeah, Prince looks great. He does. He really does look like he's dressed like a pimp. Bruce said that earlier. Just on fire, dude. On fire. It's just great. Look at him. Just so triumphant. I'm getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm showing all of these Jacomos on stage that I'm the man. They're not all Jacomos, but you know what I mean. And again, let's talk about real quick. I just want to additionally say the unsung hero here. Look at him. Look at our tambourine man, the aromatic tambourinist, as I like to call him. Look at him in the back there being so swoony with that friggin' that percussion. It's wonderful. Wait, where is he? Look at him. Wait. I love that. He's going, it's great. It's great, man. So yeah, everybody watch this. If you have not, if you missed it, I'm not gonna play it again. Like I said, I'm probably gonna have to cut that piece will probably get cut out eventually. I just put it in the comments for anybody who wants to watch. I'm gonna ask a favor for any of you watching. Can you like this video, please? That's it. That's really it. Man, I wanted to cover this for a while now on the channel. I'm so glad I finally did it. Just showing how great Prince is. That's why Prince is the GOAT. At some point, I would very much like to talk about Prince and his relationship with Michael Jackson, which I find that so fascinating. I really do. I find it fascinating. This is a little low. I don't know, the audio. Probably should have bumped that up. Damn it. All right, that's tonight's show. So keep your eyes peeled. John Christ Part 2 coming at you shortly. The conclusion of a secret show series that we just did, that was recorded, and we're about to embark on a brand new secret show series. If you know, you know. Let's just say it's XYZ versus XYZ, battle for the XYZ. That's all I can say. That's what I think the title is going to be. That's going to be really great. Really great. Lots of interesting tidbits to be had. Yeah, Rue, you're absolutely right. If memory serves me right, Rue is correct. Glenn Danzig did say in an interview in 2016 that he did mention both Prince and Bowie passing in being motivated to do the reunion, which is a rare sort of wisdom for Glenn, who never has any interest to play with people from the past unless it's for insane sums of money, and we know that's insane sums of money. So in any case, big long live Prince, long live Tom Petty, long live George Harrison. Yeah, that's it. Not going to hit you with the Patreon tonight. You know where to go if you want the goods. Peace, hair grease. We'll see you again real soon. Hatch, 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 hatch.